Hey, what's up, man? Hey, you got set?
Yeah.
You made the Pro Bowl.
I did.
Yeah. Oh, you made it.
Oh.
I think you might be the first receiver drafted that made the Pro Bowl. But you made it, man. You made it. You made it. I knew you would. You know what, man? I'm so happy for you. Your family, your dad, you know what I mean? Now we got to keep going, right?
Yep.
Our goal's not done.
Yep.
Right?
Gotta go get that ring now.
Yeah.
Oh, Eric DeCosta, the GM of the Ravens, was very happy for receiver Zay Flowers, but the reality is for a first-round pick, making the Pro Bowl is one of the keys to exploding the fifth-year option. So at some level, Eric DeCosta thinking, now I got to pay this guy even more at the appropriate time. But that's okay. It validated his pick of Zay Flowers in round one last year out of Boston College. He was one of our favorites coming out. Rodney, do you remember your feeling when you found out the first time you made the Pro Bowl, and who told you?
It was very similar to that. My coach called us up and called me up, and he pulled me in his office and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that you made the Pro Bowl." And I was so used to not making it, so I didn't even think anything about it. I didn't think it was a big deal, but that was a really special moment for Zay Flowers, and that's how most players feel when they find out that they made it. Because in my era with me, it was a lot of name recognition, it was a lot of favoritism. So a lot of the guys that you felt like should have made the Pro Bowl didn't make it, and it was frustrating. And but that was probably the best thing that happened to me, Mike. I should have been a 6-time Pro Bowler. I got voted to the Pro Bowl twice. So that affected my money. That affected my longevity. It affects your reputation, because people look at you differently when they say, okay, Rodney Harrison was a 4-time All-Pro, but he was only a 2 times Pro Bowler. But if I'm a 6-time Pro Bowler, now I'm viewed in a different light. Now I'm getting those Hall of Fame votes and things like that. So as much as we want to gloss over like the Pro Bowl isn't important to these guys, it's very important to these guys, because it has something that it affects their legacy long term and their checks.
And guys have incentives tied to it. And again, the young players, if you make it to 1 or 2, it significantly increases what your fifth-year option will be, which sets the stage for your leverage for your second contract. One other point that I was going to make about the Pro Bowl. My favorite Pro Bowl story was told by a member of the Buccaneers 4 years ago, and I think it was Devin White. When he didn't make it, he was grousing about it in the locker room, and your old friend Tom Brady caught wind of it. And Tom Brady said a thing or two to Devin White about, we're not here to play in the Pro Bowl. We're here to play in the Super Bowl. And that ended any conversation about Devin White being upset that he didn't make the Pro Bowl that year, and they ultimately went on to win the Super Bowl. All right, some snubs from this year. And look, Patrick Mahomes is, like, if I was starting a team in any era of the NFL, he'd be my first pick. But the numbers just weren't there this year. He's still the guy I'd take, but when you look at Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, there's only 3 guys that make the AFC roster as quarterbacks. His numbers don't justify it.
Yeah, and he was the 4th best quarterback in the AFC. And I agree with you, Patrick Mahomes. We all know that he's our number 1 pick overall at any point in time. But he didn't play like Patrick Mahomes. The standard that he set, and those other guys are definitely worthy. I'll tell you another guy to me that I was looking at, Kyren Williams, Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter has been fantastic. I mean, 90 pressures, a bunch of sacks, only 2 sacks behind the leaders, and he doesn't even get that consideration. But he's not a self-promoter. He's not a guy that says, look at me, look at all the things I can do. And Mike, this is a guy, even when he was with Minnesota, he was very consistent, very productive, and he should have been a Pro Bowler.
I think part of it, too, is even though we saw a lot more of the Texans this year, they're not viewed as a compelling, interesting, dynamic team. And when we saw them play, it was the game against the Bears on Sunday Night Football. And they won that one, but it just wasn't – there was no sizzle to it. Then they had the Sunday night game against the Lions, and they blew the lead. They got blown off the field by the Ravens on Christmas Day. They just don't have a lot of that pop to them that other teams might have. Baker Mayfield, another guy who could – and he's good at fashioning a chip on his shoulder. He could have a chip on his shoulder going into the postseason, given that he didn't make it in lieu of Jared Goff, Jaden Daniels, and Sam Darnold. again, three
How
great
can you
quarterbacks.
How can you argue with that? I get it.
Yeah. But he's got a chance to have 40 passing touchdowns for the first time in his career. You mentioned Kyren Williams, third most in the NFL with 1,299 rushing yards, and he didn't make it. That's a surprise. And he was supposed to be, made to be irrelevant this year with the drafting of Blake Corum. They were going to have more of a split of carries until they realized Kyren Williams is too good to put on the bench, and the numbers bear it out.
Well, the one thing I would say with the best running backs that I've seen in the NFC, Saquon Barkley was number one. Bijan Robinson was number two. And I believe between he and Josh Jacobs, they were kind of fighting for that third spot right there. So you could have gone Josh Jacobs or you could have gone Kyren Williams. But I tell you, man, this kid he's a really good back. He's not a big guy, but he's a lot stronger and he continues to move forward. I like this young man. He'll be in the Pro Bowl next year. I tell you that.
We mentioned Danielle Hunter getting snubbed from the Texans. Joe Mixon made it from the Texans, and there were other guys with, more touchdowns like James Cook, more yards. I'm trying to think of who it was. Tony Pollard
was it?
Had more yards than Joe Mixon. So, but there's a perception that Mixon came in and gave that offense a kick in the butt, and they had some early season primetime games where he did well, and that kind of sets the narrative. And those narratives get set in September and October, and they carry through the rest of the season.
Yeah, James Cook he's been outstanding this year, and Buffalo would not have had the success offensively they had this year without him. And just like I said, his consistency, he's gone to that different level. 15 rushing touchdowns, that's a lot. And a lot of big plays, a lot of runs over 20 yards. That's what you're looking for your running back. For me, Kerby Joseph, you got 9 interceptions. He was snubbed. Talk about the best safeties in the NFC. Xavier McKinney, he's right there. Budda Baker has been all over the field. He may not have the interception numbers, Mike, but when you watch this young man play, the plays that he makes flying across the field, but there's no way Kerby Joseph, the physicality that he brought, all the injuries on the defensive side of the ball, a big part of him and how well he played kept that defense together. So how do you not, a guy that's lead the league, 9 interceptions, not vote him to the Pro Bowl? It is disgusting to me, and they need to change the process.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.